Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. In today's video, I want to pass on some of my top tips and investing lessons I've learned over the past 6 years trading and investing in crypto. So things I wish that people maybe had told me when I was first getting into this space, because I've certainly made a few of the mistakes I'm sure that you guys have on your journey in the crypto world. So the first thing that I want to mention that really helped me when we talk about all these things in this video is picturing who's on the other side of the screen or that trade in the order book whenever I'm buying or selling something. So fear, hype, greed, if you're going to chase something that's going up in price, or if you're going to panic and sell when something's going down in price, picture who is on the other side of that screen or that trade. Is it someone that's more patient, and a wiser investor than you? And that often helped my thought process about what am I doing before I click that button. If I'm going to buy or sell, who am I giving my coins to, or who am I taking them off? So keep that in the back of your mind when we talk about all these things. So crypto is the most volatile asset class in the world. So yes, it has been one of the best performing asset classes, but it also has huge whipsaw up and down. And the first quote I like to think about is the markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And I've certainly learned that lesson the hard way a few times. Now, when Ethereum fell from $20 to $10, I had a margin trade on, and I thought surely Ethereum's going to go back up higher than $10. It can't keep falling, but it fell to $6. And no matter how convinced you are that something might be worth more or worth less, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. And if you've got on huge margin positions, you're going to get liquidated, and there's nothing worse than losing all those coins and then being right in the long run. So always trading with sensible positions. I recommend that you should not be margin trading at all if you're new to this space. Some of these websites offer 10 times or 100 times leverage. Now, if you've got 100 times leverage on and the crypto trade goes 1% against you, 100% of your position gets liquidated, guys. Now, that's not fun. Nobody knows what's going to happen to within 1% accuracy in the crypto world, guys. It's taken me years to get confidence and trading well, particularly on margin and short term. So guys, if you're new to this space, I'd recommend avoiding that. Again, we want to avoid large drawdowns in our account. So that's the next thing to talk about, mistakes. So how often have you heard people rush into crypto? They've been hacked. They've lost their private key. They don't know how to store it. They've sent it to the wrong address. They've done a margin trade and been, liquidated. So anything that causes a large drawdown in your account, if that's 50% drawdown, you've got to make 100% to get back to break even. So I'm trying to build wealth. I'm doing everything, comes back to sensible position size. If something's a risky ICO, don't put half your account into it. Always thinking about, hey, if this goes wrong, what sort of effect is this going to have on my account balance in terms of a drawdown? So that's another thing I've always got in the back of my mind. So the next thing to talk about is greed, and it's a human emotion. Please watch my video on trading psychology if you haven't already. So this human emotion of getting rich quick, it comes back to hype and FOMO. Again, margin trading, people try to get rich quick. Markets are irrational in the short term. All those things we just discussed. We're part of the fastest growing space on the planet. Why are you trying to get rich quicker with pump and dump groups? And the ICO space at the moment is certainly, I think, falling victim to this, and I'm not liking the path it's going down. Sure, if you get into these pre-sales or ICOs, you might make good money, but people are just going crazy when these things hit exchanges, and when everyone's, got these emotions of greed and hype, fear of missing out that we hear, comes the next quote about be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So I'm certainly very cautious of what's happening in the ICO space at the moment. You'll hear me talk about the herd a lot, and whatever everyone's doing, often I like to be a contrarian as long as it makes sense rationally. I don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing if it's due to these fear and greed emotions. So the next saying, and one that we hear, it sounds so simple, is buy low and sell high. Now, I've been on a phone call today to my investing fund. We're putting more money in. We're happy to put more money in at these levels right now. But also, some of the over-the-counter traders that deal with everyday investors, the mum and dad investors, and they're saying their phones have stopped ringing, and they see this every time. You know, everyone wants to buy and everyone's happy buying Bitcoin when it's going up, and yet here we are with things on sale 50% and their phones stop ringing and people are disinterested. The hype's gone and they don't want to buy. Now, they said this happens every time and it's completely irrational. You know, they're personally themselves that run the business, you know, they're buying because they believe Bitcoin is cheap at the moment. But all the people, their clients, stop. And so no matter how many times you hear it, buy low, sell high, people still don't do it. Now, just to expand on that a bit, the more that you understand your cryptocurrency, it comes back to those fundamentals I talk about in education. The more you understand the projects you've invested in, the more likely you are to have a better gauge of what is low and what is high. Now, how many people did you hear in this space that got into Bitcoin or Ethereum early? They took a punt and then they sold when they tripled their money or done 10x their money. You know, if you understand, and I was very passionate about Bitcoin and Ethereum in the early days, and I understood that, hey, we're not at mass adoption yet. They're chugging along nicely. Yes, they're going up in price a lot. More people are finding out about them, but we're not to that ultimate goal of where I see this all going. And that, if you have that understanding and that belief in the projects you've invested in, you're less likely to sell rather than when you've just had a punt, you've got no idea what you've really invested in. And I certainly did those one-on-ones with people who told me, hey, I threw a heap of money at NEO at $5, it's now at $50, I'm selling it all. And they don't understand what they're invested in. And, you know, at $50, it was the, you know, maybe the worst time to be buying for new people. But again, if you understand that, hey, in the short term we're overvalued, it's probably going to pull back. And then longer term, I think NEO is going to succeed. And here we are over $100. So, you know, NEO is just an example there. I could use any coin in that example about people that buy at the complete wrong time when it's run up, and people that sell and panic when things fall to the bottom. Again, if you've got that understanding of your project and where it is on its current roadmap, you're going to be more likely to maybe take some profits at better times when you see it get overvalued for its current state of development. And when you see a panic and the sell off for no real reason and you understand that, hey, this project's actually still chugging along nicely, I'm using the profits I had, I'm going to buy back in here lower. And they're the sort of things, and you don't have to pick the top at all, you don't have to pick the bottom at all, but just getting out anywhere higher and lower when there's extremes in human sentiment and in price has certainly made me a far better investor by understanding what I'm investing in. So, you know, these transfers of wealth, these shakeouts between that smart money and that dumb money that's trading on human emotion is certainly something that I personally put a lot of emphasis on understanding. So guys, that's just a few key messages after that phone call and a few of the chats I had today I want to pass on. You know, markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And buy low, sell high. As basic as it sounds, the more you put into understanding your project, the better you can gauge what is high and what is low for that project. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this face-to-face style of video. Please hit like, share these videos around, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, thanks for tuning in guys. Cheers.